Yeah, it's a battery check, processor check, wireless module check, hard drive and SSD smart check. Same thing with short DST check, optimized DST, long DST, memory intensive check, video memory check, and then system board.
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
let's just run the whole thing.
yeah.
Hopefully we can find something. And if that doesn't come up with anything, let's try to do boot in safe mode and then we'll try to uninstall WSL from there.
Okay.
Okay. I have to re-sign into Adobe every time I change computers because I let my wife use my other account. Okay. Okay. All right. It's 4 o'clock, so let's go and get started. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good, good. It's the day after the midterm, so I know yeah, May is always a little bit rough after the midterm. So update on that. I did start grading those exams. I won't have them ready until Monday, but I should have them done by Monday, no problem. So you can definitely expect to have your exams back by that day. So if you want to come to class on Monday and pick up your exams, they'll be ready for you at that time. Okay. All right, and so today, as promised, we're doing our first activity. It'll be kind of, part of today will be kind of just like a tutorial in Linux, and so that'll be kind of the first thing that we do, and then we'll move on to OpenFOAM. So I'll be completely honest with you guys. I have no idea how today's going to go because I've never done something like this before in a classroom setting like this. So we may get done with everything today. We may not. We may, have to spend some time Monday to do that. And I'm perfectly okay with that. So, if it takes 2 class sessions to get through everything with Linux and everything with OpenFOAM, I think that is more desirable because we're kind of we're at the point of the semester where we're ready to kind of make that shift where we're going to be working more on OpenFOAM now. Now that most of the theory is out of the way. There's still some theory that we have to go over, but it's a lot less compared to the OpenFOAM stuff. So the OpenFOAM stuff is going to be more of the emphasis for me. Okay. All right. So hopefully everyone got my email yesterday about installing Linux on their computers. I know it's probably not the smoothest installation. I know there's already been a few issues that have come up. But has anyone able to successfully install Windows subsystem for Linux on their computers and it seems okay? No? Okay. Okay, so I'll probably spend some time today kind of going around to those of you who are having issues. We'll kind of see, if we can get the subsystem for Linux installed. Um, so, I think what might happen is that if we're not able to get this subsystem for Linux installed on your computers, we'll probably need another option for you to use OpenFOAM. because OpenFOAM really only runs on Linux. In fact, if you go to their website, they, for the most part, even on the Windows installation for OpenFOAM, they just tell you to install Linux on your computers. So, but there are ways that we can get it working for you guys, and so we'll just have to kind of take that kind of case by case. Okay. Um, yeah, so I do have a plan. I do have a plan B for you guys to use OpenFOAM that involves basically using a supercomputer to run OpenFOAM. That's kind of what I've been working on for the past few weeks. I do want to go there eventually because I do want everyone to have experience using the supercomputer. But if it's not working on your desktops, then we may have to go there earlier than I anticipated. So, but we'll kind of tackle that as we go. Okay. Okay, all right. Are there any questions from anyone before we get started for today? Okay. All right. So again, if you're having issues installing Windows subsystem from Linux, just kind of keep a tab on it, and then just be ready to kind of raise your hand. I think probably maybe 15, 20 minutes into the class, I'll start walking around and seeing how everyone's doing. And so at that time, we can probably discuss and see how your installation is going, and then we can hopefully I can help debug some issues. Okay. All right, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you who have Linux installed, let's go ahead and get started. So hopefully everyone, for the ones that have done it, you're able to install Windows Subsystem from Linux. And then to launch it, you can do it one of two ways. And so, probably the easiest way is to search for Ubuntu. Okay. So Ubuntu is basically the name of the Linux operating system. It's one of the Linux operating systems. It's not the only one, but it's probably the one that's most common for personal use. And so, there are other ones called Red Hat that are more common on clusters, but for at least personal use, Ubuntu is the most common. Okay. So if you have Windows Subsystem for Linux, go ahead and launch Ubuntu. So for me, I'm kind of particular in my version. So actually, well, that's not the one I want. Oh yeah, for this one, I just have Ubuntu. Okay. Okay. All right. So if you launch Ubuntu, you should be greeted with this interface right here. So this is what's called your command line terminal. Okay. So this is exactly where you're going to be interacting with Linux. So the biggest change with Linux compared to your Windows desktop is that there's no graphical interface. And so you're going to be completely interacting with the system through the command line. Okay. And the way it works is that it basically takes commands in one at a time. And so, if you wanted to do something, so let's say that I want to view how many or which folders that I have in our current location, I can hit the command ls. Okay. I hit enter, and then Linux will then execute that command and then tell me the results. Okay. So a big part getting used to Linux is just getting used to entering commands into this command line terminal, right? Um, you can think of it as almost the same thing as kind of clicking around with your mouse. And so, the way that you kind of interact with the Windows system is that you kind of click somewhere with your mouse, you click somewhere, and then you kind of interact with the system that way. You open files this way. You close Windows, open Windows that way. The only difference is that in Linux, you do it via command line terminal. Okay. Okay, so is everyone able to, for everyone that has opened the, installed Linux, everyone able to open up Ubuntu and have the command line in front of them? Okay, okay, good. All right, so a big part of learning Linux is, just learning which commands are there available to you. Okay, so the first command that I'm going to teach you actually is one that's kind of unconventional. It's not a standard Linux command, but it's something that we'll use to kind of illustrate exactly what's going on. Okay. Let me mute this so friends don't message me. Okay. All right. So the command that we're going to run here is one that's specific to when you're running Linux on Windows. So let's run Explorer. So type explorer.exe. Okay. And then you're going to hit space, and then you're going to hit the period. Okay. So you're going to hit explorer.exe period, and then you're going to hit enter. Okay. Okay, so doing that is going to open up a new Windows Explorer. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that parallel to my command line here. Okay. So the reason we're doing this is because, when you're in the command line, you always have to be cognizant of what's called your present location or your present working directory. Okay. Um, and so, typically the way that you illustrate that in Windows is through your Windows Explorer. So what you're going to see is that we're going to go kind of back and forth between these windows, and you're going to see that as I do things in Linux, as I create files, as I view files, you're going to see it update here on the Windows side as well. Okay. So this is purely just a Windows thing. So you don't need to do this. And so as you get used to Linux, you don't need to put explorer.exe dot. It's based there just to kind of more easily show what's going on. Okay. Okay. All right. So actually, let me. Okay. All right. So, question. Yes. Yeah. Actually, That's a great idea. Okay. Good. Thank you. There we go. Yeah. A little easier to see that. Okay. All right. Oh, and by the way, on for those of you on Zoom, I do have my sound off just so my computer sounds don't kind of get in the way. So if you have a question at any point, just type something in the chat. Okay. Okay. All right. So the first command that we'll learn in Linux is the first real command I say is what's called the present working directory command. Okay. So actually, let me just clear this. So you don't have to do this. I'm just going to clear it just to kind of make things a bit easier to see. Actually, that doesn't not make it things easier to see. It's at the top of the screen. Okay. All right. So the present working directory command basically is a way for you to find out where your location is in the file system. Okay. So the command is simply just pwd. Okay. Right. So pwd is what's called kind of a passive command. So it doesn't actually change anything in your system. It's just there to provide you with information. Okay. All right. So when I hit pwd, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And you're going to see that the command line is going to return a single line to me, right? So the line that the pwd command returns is /home/just_end, right? So that basically tells me where I am in the current directory. Okay. Okay. So to kind of illustrate this, let's go to our Windows equivalent here. And let me show you that we are in the exact same location here. So let me go ahead and hit Control L. Okay. So if you've never done this before from a Windows Explorer window, you can hit Control L, and that will show you, the current path to your location here. Okay. So basically every file on your computer, every folder on your computer has a unique path, which is basically just a string of text that tells you where you can find that file or location in your computer. Okay. And so when you hit Control L on your computer, right, so that'll tell you exactly the path right here. So, Windows already kind of has like a graphical way to kind of illustrate that up here. But if you want just the raw text path, you hit Control L, and that's the same thing. Okay. Now, if you see here, if you look at this path, it doesn't quite match, right? Because if you look at my path here, I have //wsl.localhost/ubuntu/home/justin. Okay. So when you're using Ubuntu, it's kind of implied that we have this part of the path already, right? Right. So this, //wxl localhost/ubuntu. Okay. So every path within your Ubuntu starts with everything after that. So you can see here that okay. So my path here is /home/Justin, and then that is exactly the path here that I see in Windows Explorer, /home/Justin. Okay. And then every folder that I see here is also visible from my current location in the Linux terminal as well. So the next command that we'll learn is called ls. Okay. So ls is a command that will tell you all of the files and all of the folders that are in your current location. Okay. Okay, so I hit ls and you can see that I have two folders in my location, right? So the folders here appear blue. So I have one folder called OpenFOAM and another folder called OpenFOAM_cases. Okay. So you guys probably won't have this because you guys are probably working with fresh installations of Ubuntu, so there's no folders and no files installed in your system yet. So probably what happens when you hit ls, you'll probably get a blank, you'll probably get nothing because there's nothing in your current folder. Okay. Now let's look at the Windows Explorer here and let's see if that is consistent. Okay. Now it's a little bit confusing because you can see here on the Windows side there is a lot of files here, right? We do see the open foam folder, and we do see the folder open foam underscore cases, right? But we have all these extra files and folders as well, okay? Now, these files and folders are not visible from Linux because they have a period at the beginning of their name, right? So you can see that this folder is called .cache, this folder is called .config, this folder is called .landscape, this folder is called .ssh, okay? And all these files, .bash history, .bash logout, .bash rc, okay? So that period there means that those files are hidden files, okay? So normally, Linux is not able to see these files unless you specifically call for them, okay? Okay. Right, so the only folders that should be visible from this location should just be OpenFOAM and OpenFOAM underscore cases. Okay. Okay. So those two commands are very important to know, the pwd command and the ls. Okay. All right. Any questions on this so far? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and teach you guys a couple more commands. First of all, first one to how to create a folder, and another command how to kind of move locations, and then I'll probably go and then I'll start going around and helping people with the Linux installation. Okay. Okay. All right. So now let's learn the command for making a new folder. So if you were to make a folder in Windows, right? Typically, what you would do is you would right click and you go to New Folder, right? And so we can give this folder a name. Hi, I'm folder. Okay. Okay. Notice how, when I made this new folder, I didn't put any spaces in the name, right? So any spaces were covered by an underscore, right? So that's really important because, Linux does not like spaces in the names of its files, does not like spaces in the names of its folders as well. So, get used to, putting underscores or putting dashes instead of spaces, because that'll save you a lot of headaches, okay? Okay, so you can see here I've created a new folder in my directory here, and we can see if it's updated on the Linux side. So let's go ahead and hit ls, okay? And you can see that now that I've created that folder, when I hit the ls command, we have this new folder here called Hi, I'm folder, right? And so you can see here that, these are the same. But what if we wanted to create a folder from the Linux side without having to go onto the Windows side? Okay. So the command for making a new folder in Linux is called mkdir, okay? So that stands for make directory. So we're basically making a new directory, okay? Okay. And then you're going to follow that by the name of the folder that you want to create, okay? And so let's create a new folder called buddy. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and hit enter. Right, and so what you're going to see is that a new folder called buddy is going to be created. So we're going to see it on the Linux side, and we're going to see it on the Windows side as well. Okay. All right, so we created our new folder called buddy. So let's go ahead and hit ls. Bless you. Uh, okay, there we go. Okay, so you can see that after we hit ls, after we created that folder called buddy, we have this folder here, okay? And then if we refresh our folder here on the Windows side, right? Let me go ahead and clear my writing away from that as well. We can see that folder was created here as well. So we created this new folder called buddy, which was created from the Linux side, okay? So when you want to create a new folder, you want to use the command mkdir, okay? Okay. All right, so mkdir, one thing you'll learn in Linux is that, it's important to keep your files organized. So, definitely make folders. Don't just dump everything onto the desktop. Don't just dump everything into your home directory here. You want to make sure that you're organized, especially if you're running multiple local phone cases. Okay. All right, any questions on the mkdir command? Yes.
I'm having trouble on file.
Oh, so you don't have the list of folders going to pop up here?
Yeah.
Okay, so yours probably is starting empty because you're starting with the fresh Ubuntu installation. So there's probably nothing in there right now. So if you do mkdir, so go ahead and run that command and then make a new folder. You can call it whatever you want. So mkdir, you can call the folder buddy. And then after you do that, then when you hit ls, the new folder should show up at that point. Okay. All right. So last command I'll teach you, and then I'll let you guys kind of play around with it. Is how to change directory. Okay. Now, when you're in Windows, right? So let's say that we wanted to see, what files and folders are inside this, OpenFOAM cases folder, right? So how would we do that? So in Windows, the way we do that is we just double click on that folder, right? And then we go inside, we can say that we're going inside that folder, right? And so you can see inside this OpenFOAM cases folder, we have another folder called cavity. And if I wanted to go inside that folder, right, I can double click that and then go inside another folder here for cavity, just like that, okay? Okay, so you can do the same thing in Linux, right? And so in Linux, in order to go into a folder, the command for that is called cd, okay? So cd is the command for change directory, right? So let's say I want to go into my folder. Let's say if I want to go into the buddy folder, okay? So I can do cd and then type out buddy. You don't need the slash at the end. You can just do cd buddy, okay? Right? And you hit enter. Now we're inside that buddy folder, right? Now there's nothing inside the buddy folder just because we just created the empty folder, but we can go ahead and make a folder in here. So let's create a folder, hey bud. Okay. Right. And so now we have a folder called hey bud. We can go ahead and go inside that folder there. Okay. Right. So change directory or CD is a way that you can kind of navigate around your Linux system. And so that's the command you're probably going to use the most, right? Because you're going to need to move to different locations in your file system to run different commands, to, run into different OpenFOAM folders, so on and so forth. Okay. And so the cd command is exactly the same thing as double clicking a folder in the Linux in the Windows side. Okay. Okay. And then if you want to go up a level, so let's say that you want to exit out of the folder and go to the parent folder, the command for that is cd dot dot. Okay. So that'll take you one level up. So so the equivalent for that in Windows, and so I think probably everyone's familiar with this up arrow. So this up arrow will take you out of this folder and into the parent folder. Okay. Right? And so the way to do that in Linux is just to do cd dot dot. So, let me go ahead and demonstrate again, right? So inside my base folder here, okay. Can I zoom in? Yes. Okay, so yeah, so the OpenFOAM folder should not be there. So that's something that I've worked on my Linux kind of before this, and so I have that folder. You guys don't. So we're gonna install OpenFOAM together later as well. So you guys won't have the OpenFOAM folder. So you guys should just have the basically just have an empty folder. Yeah. Mhm. As for zooming in, let me see. Let me see settings. Um, Let me see. Appearance, color scheme.
Testing for
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah, perfect. That works. Thank you. Okay, so I'll let you guys play around with that for a little bit. So go ahead and just get some practice making folders and then changing directories into them. Okay. And and just remember you can kind of track what's kind of going on the right here. I'm going to make some rounds right now. So if you're having trouble, first of all, if you have questions with just what we have so far, you can raise your hand. I'll come to you. But I do want to prioritize the people that were not able to install Linux on their systems, and then I'm going to see if we can help debug that issue. Okay. So I'll probably walk around for probably the next 15, 20 minutes, just depending on how many people kind of need help. If you're on Zoom and you need help, just go ahead and drop something in the chat and I'll come around to you. Okay. But yeah, so if you have everything working, go ahead and make a few folders. You can call mkdir folder 1, mkdir folder 2, right? And then you can practice, jumping into them and jumping out of them, things like that. Okay. Okay. Are you good? Still? Okay, so go ahead and exit, and then you may want to just restart, and then turn off the computer, and then just mash the escape key again, and then go to the boot. Yeah. Oh, that worked. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Very good. Then. Yes. Oh, no, I wasn't. Oh, I didn't know that it had this there, but that's nice. I didn't know that there was a shortcut for it. But, yeah, that's good. So if you go inside there, you should see your three folders. One folder. There's, well, okay, that's the admin. So I would say just, I would just do the explore, use. Yes. Yeah, because it like saves all the. First time. I see, I see. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so. You actually need to explore the EXE space. Space. I'm saying. Yep. There you go. So the dot is actually the shortcut for the current directory. So what we're basically saying is open the explore.exe current preference. So you can see your free flow. Yeah. So what they were good. Okay, good. You guys are using Linux. You guys are doing it. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go to F9. Let's look at the menu. You might have to. Sorry about that.
No, it's all good, it's all good.
So I think the one that we want is adequate landing, because that's the one that you get very well.
This is a recovery?
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's try that one.
Sounds good, nice.
It's good.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
So I got a thing. You're good. CLC.
No, yeah, so it's not MATLAB. Yeah, they might clear. Type clear.
Oh, actually? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's useful because sometimes it gets gunked up, but good. How you guys doing? Good. Good. Okay. Okay, but you have it up. Yep, that's good. That's great. You have open both. Nice.
It's just screwed.
All right, Zoom people, how are we doing? Anyone having issues?
Nope.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to clear your window, there's just too much stuff there. You can type clear and then hit enter, and then that'll wipe your window there. Yeah. Okay, good. Awesome. All right, so that's the basics of kind of moving around in Linux, and so that basically takes care of section D here, right? So if you're kind of following along, you'll see that I posted this tutorial on Linux. Section D is how to navigate around in Linux, and so we've basically done that. Okay, good. Okay, all right. So where is our folder here? Okay, so I'm going to teach you a trick here, and so this is not something that's taught until later, but it's honestly something I use every day. So there's a way to kind of auto-complete your commands here, okay? So let me hit ls again, right? So you can see that in our current folder, we have all these folders here, right? So let's say I wanted to change directories into my hi, I'm folder. Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, how to exit out of a folder. Yeah, good question. So so to exit out of a folder, so let's say I'm in the hi, I'm folder, right? So if you want to go exit out of it and go one up, you're going to do cd. Okay, so same command, but then you're going to do dot dot. Okay, so the cd dot dot is a special command to kind of take you out of the folder and then go one level up. Yeah, so you can see that gets me out of that folder there. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's say that I want to cd into hi I'm folder, and I kind of already just did it just out of reflex, just because I've done this so many times. But if you have like say a folder name or a file name that's very long, it can be kind of annoying to kind of type it all out, right? So you can do hi underscore im underscore folder, right? But also, when you're typing long names like this, you're very prone to typos. So let's say that, I'm just typing really fast. So I go hi underscore in folder, right? So Linux is very particular. There's no autocorrect here in Linux. And so if I do this, right, I'm going to get an error say that there's no such folder as hi I'm folder, right? And it's right. So there is no folder called that because the correct folder is hi I'm folder, right? And as you can imagine, I mean, and we're doing this with very basic kind of folders here, but as your file names and paths get longer and more complicated, it's very difficult to write things exactly. Okay. So thankfully there is a way around this or a shortcut, okay, which is the tab autocomplete. Okay. Okay. So what is tab autocomplete? So when you're referring to a file or a folder in your current directory, in your current location, right? If you start typing the name and there's no other file or folder that belongs to that beginning, you can hit tab on your keyboard and then Linux will automatically complete the path for you, just so you don't have to type the whole thing. Okay? So for instance, let's say if I want to change directories into the buddy folder, right? So let's say I'm going to do CD, okay? And then I'm going to type buddy, BU, okay? But I can see that out of all the other folders in my present working directory, there's no other folder that starts with BU, okay? What I can do now is I can hit tab, okay? And then Linux will auto-complete it for me because it knows that there's no other folder that's in there that's like that, okay? And then there you go. Okay. So definitely use the tab autocomplete. It's definitely something to, get it. It's like almost muscle memory for me at this point, just to kind of keep tabbing. Okay. But there are limitations to it, right? And so, because if you have multiple folders in your directory that have the same start, it's not going to know where to go, right? So for instance, you can see here I have two folders, folder one and folder two, right? They both start with folder. So if I do CD folder, okay, I get tab, okay, and then Linux is not going to know which folder I'm referring to because both of those folders start with folder, right? And so that one you do have to type the whole name for, okay? Right? So there are limitations to tab autocomplete. It's not a mind reader, but it can at least, help you type faster. And when you're kind of typing a lot of commands in Linux, that it can be helpful to kind of do that. Okay. Okay, so that's tab autocomplete. Definitely make use of that. That is something that's very useful to do. Okay. All right. So let's talk about manipulating files now. Okay. Okay. So we know how to create folders. We know how to move between folders. Let's see how we can actually create a file. Okay. So the base command for creating a file is a command called touch. Okay. So touch actually does a few different things. It's mostly there just to confirm that a file exists, but we can also use touch to create a new file. Okay. So the way to do it is basically the same way that we use the mkdir command. So we're going to enter touch, and then we're going to enter the name of the file that we want to create. Okay. So I'm going to do touch. I'm going to do new underscore file. Okay. So this new file that we're creating here is just a blank file, right? So there's going to be no data in it at all. So you can consider it as kind of like an empty document, an empty Word document. Okay. Okay. And so you do so. There's no confirmation, but if you hit ls on your keyboard, right, you can see that our new file was created. So we have our new file, which is new underscore file. Okay. Now there's nothing in it, right? But it's just an empty file. It's there for us. Okay. And if we go to the Windows side, you can see here that we have this new file, right? There's no file extension, so Windows doesn't even know what type of file it is, but we can edit it, right? So let me just put some text inside it. So let me go ahead and open this so I'm just going to open it with a notepad for now. And I'm just going to put in some random text. Okay, save. All right. So now that new file has some text. You don't have to do that. That's just to kind of show that we can put some text in there. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's how we create a new file. Honestly, for the most part, you're not going to use the touch command all that much, but just for the sake of completeness, we have to show it. Just because most of the time you're not going to create just a new file out of nowhere for no reason. Okay. Okay, but the next commands are very helpful. Okay. So the next commands are going to be how to copy and paste, how to cut and paste, and then how to delete a file. Okay. Okay, so let's do copy and paste first. And so the command for copy and paste is CP. Okay. So CP obviously stands for copy, right? And so the copy command is our first command here that's actually going to take two arguments. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do for CP is that you need to enter the file name that you want to copy, right? So let's say I want to copy my new file here, okay? And then you need to tell Linux where you want to copy it to, right? So basically you're providing the file that you want to copy, and then you're providing the destination of where you want to copy the file to, okay? So let's say I want to move this file into let's move into our buddy folder, okay? Right? And then make sure you use tab autocomplete just to kind of, make things a bit better, right? So by entering this command here, cp new file to buddy, we are copying our new file to our buddy folder, okay? So I'm gonna hit enter. And so that is gonna go ahead and move that file over there. And if we go into the buddy folder, right? So I'm gonna cd into buddy, I'm gonna hit ls. We can see that our new file is here just because we moved it there. And we can confirm that on our, on here as well, okay? Right? So there is our new file there. So, CP, very powerful command. It's a copy and paste. You'll be definitely using that a lot because, the way we're going to use OpenFOAM is that, we're going to be copying, we're basically going to be taking a lot of templates from OpenFOAM, and then we're going to be basically molding it to our particular problem. So we'll be copying, files from within the OpenFOAM tutorial directory, copying that to our present one, and then modifying them as we see fit. So CP is definitely a command to get used to. Okay. All right, any questions on the CP command? Okay, good. Okay. Um let's go through all the commands first, and then we'll go over the -r modifier in a second. Okay. Okay. All right, so CP, that's our copy and paste. To cut and paste a file, the command for that is MV. Okay. So MV stands for move. And so essentially we're moving a file from one location to another, which is the same thing as cut and paste. Okay. So the way we use the move command is that you're again going to enter the name of the file that you want to move. Okay. So I'm going to enter MV new file. Okay. And then you need to move, and then you want to enter the destination for that file as well. Okay. So we have another folder inside here called Hey Bud. So you may not have that just because I was kind of just playing around in here, but if you don't have another folder in your current place, you can always mkdir. Okay. But I'm gonna hit MV. We're gonna move this new file into my folder Hey Bud. Okay. And then what that's going to do is that it's going to delete the file in our current location, and then it's going to move it to the new one. Okay. So let me go ahead and hit enter. Okay. Right. So we can see that after we did this move command, we'll hit ls, right? You can see that new file is no longer here, but if we go into Hey Bud, we can see that our file is there as well. Okay. So move command is great for cut and paste. Okay. One thing you'll notice too, so this honestly probably is not relevant for now, but the move command is actually a lot faster than the CP command because to move a file actually is very simple. I think conceptually we think of the move command as we're deleting it from the current place and we're creating a new file in the new place. But actually, what's happening, all Linux has to do when you cut and paste is you just have to update the location for that file. So it just updates that path. So that's much faster. So if you run a CP command, basically your computer has to create new data at whatever location you're copying and pasting to, because the old one is not being deleted. So, kind of a minor thing, but when we kind of start using OpenFOAM and we have our result files are very large, you'll see sometimes that the move command is a lot faster, and sometimes that can be helpful if you're moving kind of large files from one system to another. Okay. Okay. Any questions on the move command? Okay. All right, so the last command that I'll teach, before I'll let you guys kind of play around with this a little bit, is the RM command. Okay, so RM stands for remove, and so that is basically the way that we delete files in Linux. Okay, so the RM command is very simple. So you're just going to hit RM, and you're going to type the name of the file that you want to delete. Okay, so let's say I want to remove this new file here. So go ahead and hit RM new file. And you can see that after we run the RM command, the new file or the file that we deleted is gone. Okay. So if you ever want to delete a file, RM command, very straightforward to use. Okay. Now you have to be careful. So, when you use the RM command, It's not like in Windows where, when you delete something, it goes to your recycle bin. So you can change your mind, in a couple hours or so, like, oh, I need that file. So in Linux, RM means it's gone forever. Right? And so there's no recycle bin in Linux. Um, there is a way to restore files in Linux, but it is very, very difficult to do and not reliable at all. So be very careful using the RM command because there's no way to get it back. If you're not sure if you want to delete a file or not, I would avoid using RM. I would maybe use a move command instead. So maybe you can move it to some kind of recycling bin that maybe you maintain on your own. But you want to be careful using the RM command to delete files because there's honestly no coming back from that. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys play around with that a little bit. There is a little bit more to do here because we have to learn what the dash R modifier does. But at least this is enough to, you can kind of play around with this a bit where you can kind of, create new files, move them around, copy them around, make new directories. So, there's enough for you guys to kind of, play with here as I kind of go around and just make sure to help. Okay. So once again, if you have questions on Zoom, just go ahead and leave a message in the chat. I'll come around to that, but I'm gonna make a round around the class and then I'll come back. Yeah. No, let's go advanced options. Let's try system restore. So let's see if we can restore your system to before you install the Windows subsystem. Okay, I would write that down. Like take a picture of that. I guess we'll may try to do that in. I've never seen this one. I'll come back and see. So I know what more. Okay, sure. Yeah. I just. Yeah. How do I take that? Okay. So to move folders around, so that's actually what we're gonna do next. Okay. So moving folders around is a bit complicated. Because folders kind of are collections of stuff. So to move a folder, you would add the dash R modifier. But then dash yeah. So I would use actually CP. So actually use like CP dash space or some piece space dash R. And that's how you move folder from one place to another. Yeah. So if you want to move it out, you can do CP dash R, the name of the folder, and then space and then dot dot. Remember dot takes you out. Yeah. Yep. All right.
Yeah. I tried the first one, and I tried the last one.
Okay. Let's get this drive now. Okay, cancel. Okay, let's go to troubleshooting again. Options. Go to startups and maintenance. Yeah.
Should we start?
Yeah. Well, this would be interesting because I think every time before you restarted, you did it just like kind of forcing it to go. But then this is actually doing its own restart. So we'll see if that works. Yeah.
Recovery key.
How you guys doing? Good. Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the cursor command is mostly for folders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you want to copy a folder from one place to another, you use E space dash R space folder. Yeah. And then you can do RM dash R. RM dash R is scared because you don't want to. You'll delete everything in the folder. Usually you want to be sure. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, we want definitely want to be here.
You should actually do a routine.
Yes. Did you even just start? It's asking to go to YouTube. You can try going to this website. Oh, see, I have to log into your Microsoft. Yeah. Yeah, see if that would log yourself. I guess it's good. It's good. Sure. Yes, yes, yes. So CD, nothing. So you ever lost? Oh, too far. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So home, so your home directory is when you first start. Like when you're basically there, there's nothing to your path. That's your home. Okay. Okay. Oh, we haven't even gone to that yet. So we haven't installed open home. We're just running it. Sorry. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm over here trying to we'll do it's on open home, probably don't ask you. Okay, yeah. And, right. You guys good? Yeah. Okay. That's what you said. It's a all right, Zoom people, how are we doing? You guys are everyone any questions out there? Okay, so I think probably the last thing we'll do today is we'll install OpenFOAM with the last thing we'll do, and then we'll do our OpenFOAM activity first thing on Monday. Okay. I think that's probably where we're going to end at today. Good, good. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and continue then. Okay, so I've already kind of talked to a couple of you guys about this before, but there is if you notice that there you can't run CP or RM on any folders, right? So let's say I wanted to remove this folder here, so I want to remove Hey Bud, right? It says it can't do that because it's directory, right? So same thing with CP. So let's say I want to CP Hey Bud, and let's say I want to move it up here, right? You can't do that because CP only works on single files. RM only works on single files. And so if you wanted to move a folder around, the way to do that is to add a -R modifier. Okay. So you can do CP -R, right? So let's say I wanted to move my Hey Bud folder. And let's say I actually wanted to copy it one level up, right? So I wanted to copy it to the location, beyond, back above Buddy, right? So I can do CP -R Hey Bud and then space ... and that'll move that Hey Bud folder above here, okay? Right, and so you can see after I did that, now my Hey Bud folder is in my folder above here, okay? Now the same thing works for RM too. So let's do RM. We can do RM-R, okay? And you can delete a folder in that same way. But I will say, be very careful using the RM-R command here because it's very easy to kind of do this kind of carelessly and delete an entire folder worth of data. It honestly, it kind of happens to everyone that uses Linux at some point, and so, but you don't want it to happen to you at the worst possible time. Like you don't want to delete your final project files, you know, an hour before it's due, right? So I honestly, I would say don't use the RM-R command. You have to kind of really be sure that you want to do it. It's not something you do kind of carelessly. But that option is there if for some reason you wanted to delete an entire folder. Okay. So in this case, I know I can delete this folder because it's just an empty folder. But again, you want to be careful using this command here. Okay. Now, the move command is special. So, I think some people kind of discovered this, as well, right? So the move command does not require any -R because it's a cut and paste, right? So let's say I wanted to move folder 1. Okay. Let's say I wanted to move it inside folder 2. Okay. So you can do that, right? And so you go into folder 2. So our folder 1 is here. So move command does not need the -R just because it's cut and paste. It just kind of move. It just again, it just kind of updates the path, right? So you can use the move command around as well. And so that honestly, that's safer than using the moving the using rm-r. That's honestly, that's probably a lot of computer scientists will probably poo-poo on me for teaching you rm-r because that's not usually not something you want to use on a regular basis. So most of the time you want to use move, you want to use cp-r, but try not to use rm too much because you could delete something important by accident. Okay. Okay, all right. So that's the basics of file management within Linux, right? So that's basically everything you need to know to navigate around and interact with files. Okay. Next thing that we're going to do, and probably the last thing that we'll learn today, is how to interact with text files. Okay. So the thing with OpenFOAM, right? And you'll learn if you've had a chance to look at the OpenFOAM activity and try it out yet, you'll see that OpenFOAM is not really a program in the traditional sense, right? It's not like SolidWorks, it's not like ANSYS where you launch the program and you use it within the program. OpenFOAM is not like that at all. So the way OpenFOAM works is that you have a collection of basically just input files that are just simple, just text files, and then you modify them according to your simulation, and then you run it based on those text files. Okay. So being able to edit a text file and modify a text file from within Linux is a very important skill. Okay. Um, so, if you're working on your desktop, you can make the argument that you don't need it, right? So if you remember earlier, you can modify a text file from your Windows Explorer, granted that you're in the same folder, right? And just open up a file within Notepad, right? So if you're doing this on your home computer, yeah, you can just do that. There's no way to or there's no reason to use the text editor within Linux. But for those of you that are probably going to have to use the cluster or want to use the cluster for your final projects, you are going to have to use a text editor on the cluster, and there's no graphical interface on there. Okay. Okay, so let me teach you different ways to interact with text files here. Okay. Okay, so the first command I'm actually going to show you, we're going to go actually backwards a little bit. I'm going to teach you the vim command first. Okay. So vim is the default text editor within Linux, or it's one of the basic text editors within Linux. Okay. Okay, so to use vim, okay, and hopefully everyone still has their empty file that they created before. If not, you can touch to make a new file, right? So go ahead and touch, text file if you don't have one, but if you have one, don't worry about it. Okay. So to open up the text editor vim, you're going to type the command vim in your command terminal, and then you're going to type the name of the file that you want to edit. Okay. So I'm going to do vim and then space new underscore file. Okay. And then you're going to hit enter, but don't be scared. It's going to take you away from the terminal, and it's going to open up the text file here in your window just like that. Okay. Now, this is a file I had edited earlier, so I already had text in here. But probably for you guys, when you open up the text file, it's going to be, oops, not vim. Okay, it's probably going to look something like this because there's no text within the file. So let's say that you created a file. Okay. Okay. So to start making text, and actually let me move this down just so it's a little bit easier to see for people here. Okay. So the way the Vim text editor works is that there's basically two modes within the Vim text editor. There's viewing mode and then there's editing mode, right? So when you first launch Vim, you're in viewing mode first. So you can't actually type anything. So if you try to type, oh, it actually did that for me. So if you try to type, right, it's not going to work because it's in viewing mode, right? So to enter editing mode, and you can see I kind of did it by mistake just because I was typing the key there. To enter editing mode, you're going to hit I on the keyboard. Okay. So when you hit I, you're going to see that the bottom left-hand side of the window is going to change to insert. And so that is Vim's way of telling you that you can start inserting text. And so now you can start inserting text. Hello, my name is Justin, and I love Linux. Please spare me when robots take over. Okay. Okay. You can type whatever you want there. Okay. So to exit out of insert mode, you're going to hit escape on your keyboard, right? So when you hit escape, it's going to remove that insert there. So now you're in viewing mode again, right? So now you can't edit the text, but you can only view, right? But you can enter, you can jump in and out of insert into editing mode just by hitting I and escape on the keyboard. Okay. So go ahead and play around with it. Go ahead and just enter, whatever line that you want. You can write a message to your robot over words if you want, or, you can write a message to your computer. Okay. Okay. So when you're done writing your text, go ahead and hit escape to escape out of insert mode. Okay. Then I'm going to show you how to exit out of Vim and save your changes. Okay. All right, everyone done writing their text into their file? Okay. So to exit out of Vim and save your changes, you have to be in viewing mode, right? So, you can't be in insert. And then you're going to type the command : okay? Right? So you can see that the command here is in the bottom left, and then you're going to hit X, right? So you're going to enter the command basically :X, and that's going to be the command to tell Vim that you're going to save and exit out of Vim. Okay, so go ahead and hit enter. So that'll take you out of Vim and back into your terminal here. Okay. And then to check the file, right? So we can go to our file here. So let's see. So we created this file called text file. I'm just going to view it in Windows just to kind of show you that we edited it. Okay. All right. So you can see that, the text that we added in is in there. Okay. All right, so that's the basics of Vim. So, you can use Vim to edit text files. There are other text editors in Linux. Which text editor you use is kind of a personality test for Linux. It's like, people ask you what's your horoscope. Computer nerds ask you what text editor do you use in Linux. So I like Vim, although I learned recently that Vim is it's kind of an unpopular case. So there's other text editors. There's VI, which is another version of Vim. There's also Nano. That's another text editor. But I'm going to teach you Vim because that's what I learned, and I want you all to be like me. And so that's why I'm teaching you. Okay. So you can go ahead and play around with Vim a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and kind of make another round, but go ahead and use Vim to add text to certain files. You can use Vim to create a new file too. So you can do Vim, text. So you can type the name of a new file, right? And so doing so will create the file for you. So this is kind of another way to create a new file. So you don't have to use touch. You can just use Vim, okay? Right? I didn't put anything into the file, so it didn't actually save it. But you can use Vim to create a new file like that too. Okay. So go ahead and play around with that a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and make my rounds one more time, and then we have a couple more things. Then we'll install OpenFOAM, and then we'll call it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So from the yeah, it translates.
It does. Yeah.
It's like I edited it here, right? And I like
Yeah.
policy is this.
Yeah.
And I edited it here. The new lines are brand. Well, in the short version. So there's it says file.
Go ahead and exit out from Vim there.
Okay, also.
LS.
That's from
Yeah. And try so it's kind of fitting just because of your message, but then there's another command we're going to learn next is cat. So type cat. So cat is stands for can cat. So actually we're going to do cat in that text file actually. So hit Control C actually. So Control C is a way to kind of cancel it. So do cat and then new text file. Weird. It should update. Go ahead and save it. Just make sure just hit Control S save. Close it. And then let's do the same thing.
Oh, okay, so I forgot to say that.
Okay, yeah, so you have to save it. So when you
Okay.
save it, it writes it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's it going?
Found it.
Okay.
It's good. I went back to the system restore.
Okay.
My computer, I don't know why, it just stopped working.
Okay.
And then, so, you should go for it?
Yeah, let's go for it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, go ahead and next. So, okay, so that was a couple days, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so go ahead and click that one. Yes. Finish. Yes. Okay. Because you installed the WSL today.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully that will reset to yes, you're good before Tuesday. Okay. Let me know how it's.
Okay.
Yeah. How are you guys doing? Good. Good, good. Looking good. How you guys doing?
Yeah, that's fine.
You can, so let me see. Okay. Yep. And then control X.
Y.
Yep. Or sorry, colon. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So when you're in viewing mode on Vim, you can see the so go ahead and hit Vim RBT. Okay. So when you enter commands, so do colon. So you can see the commands enter at the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. There you go. Good. 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 Right, seeing message in Zoom. Let's see. Sure. Yeah. So to enter a text in a file, so I'm gonna do Vim new file here. So to start entering text, so when you first launch Vim, you're in viewing mode, so you cannot edit the text. So to edit the text, you need to enter editing mode. And so to do that, you're going to hit the letter I on your keyboard. So hit I. So when you hit I, you can see that the bottom left here is changed to insert. Now we can edit the text as we want. And then to exit out of editing mode, you can hit escape. Okay. And then after escape, you then exit out of Vim by typing :X. So it's a little hard to see. So actually, let me kind of bring it up here, right? So when you're in viewing mode, basically when you're in viewing mode, it's able to accept commands to basically tell you what you want to do with the file. So the way to kind of exit is you type :. So you can see that the colon is being entered into the bottom left, and then you hit X, okay? And so that will exit out of the text file and save your results. Okay. All right. Any questions? Everyone able to kind of edit the text files? Okay. Okay. So last couple of things that we'll kind of learn today is that Vim is very helpful, obviously, for editing text files. But if you simply wanted to see what was inside a text file, you don't have to launch Vim for that. It's kind of a little bit bulky for that. So there's another command, right? Called cat. So cat is a command to basically just view what's inside the text file. Okay. So a lot of times, honestly, I don't use cat all that much. It's mostly there just to kind of show you, whatever is in a text file. So to use cat, you're going to type the command cat. Okay. And then you're going to input the text file that hopefully has text in it, right? And you're going to hit enter. And then whatever text is within that file is just going to dump it to your terminal, but it's still going to keep you on your terminal, right? Now you can't edit any of this text, you can't change any of it, you can't add new lines. Cat is just only there just to view what's inside your text file. Okay. Okay. All right, so that's the basics of Linux, right? And so that's basically everything you need to kind of move around and kind of edit text files. If you ever want to exit Linux, I mean, in Windows, you can just close the window. That's one way to do it. But if you want it to be cool about it, you're getting used to typing text commands, you can just type exit, right? And then hit enter, and then that will close the Ubuntu for you, right? Once you start getting used to Linux, you'll start to actually not like to use your mouse, and so you want to just do everything with text. So you can kind of do it that way. Okay. Okay. So last thing we're going to do together today, just to kind of prepare us for the activity on Monday, is let's install OpenFOAM together. Okay. Okay. So to install programs in Linux, it's actually very convenient because there is a command for basically downloading apps. You can think of them as apps for Linux. Okay. So the command to install something from Linux is sudo apt-get install, and then the name of the package that you want to install. Okay. So that basically accesses you can think of it as like the Linux App Store, the Linux Play Store. to download that package of that name. Okay, it's a very convenient way to install stuff because it's just a single line, and you can download a lot of packages that way. So Linux is actually the language of program development, and so a lot of software is built on Linux first, and then ported to Windows or Mac from there. And the reason for that is because it's very easy to just install packages this way. Okay, so we're going to install OpenFOAM in that same way. But we need to actually connect the App Store with the OpenFOAM servers, okay? So there are a few kind of very specific commands that we're going to input here. So these commands are just going to be one time, so we only have to do these once. But once you do these, then OpenFOAM will be installed on your computer, okay? Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to add what's called the repository of OpenFOAM to our system here, okay? So we're going to type in this command, and we're going to type it kind of letter by letter, word for word, okay? And I know here it's listed as 2 lines, but this is actually all just one command. It's just too long to fit on one line here, okay? So this one you can just copy and paste, but I'm just going to type it by hand here, okay? So we're going to type sudo sh-c and then open quotation wget -o space https://dl.openfoam.org/gpg.key. Okay. And then you're going to hit the greater than sign, and then /etc/trusted.gpg.d/openfoam.asc. Okay. Or if you don't want to do that and you have access to the document, you can just copy and paste this entire command and put it there. That's another way to do that. Okay. We're going to hit enter. Okay. Now something's going to pop up, right? Because we ran what's called a sudo command. Okay. Now sudo is kind of the way to access administrative privileges within Linux, right? So when you're on Windows and you want to run an application from an administrator's perspective, you just right click and run as administrator. This is kind of the same thing from Linux. So sudo stands for super user do. Okay. So it's going to ask you for your password. So go ahead and input your password. Okay. Right. And then, same thing as when you made your account, when you're typing your passwords, it's not going to show up there. That's a security measure so that, if people are just looking over your shoulder, they can't see your password. So go ahead and hit enter. I think I put my password incorrectly. Okay. So hopefully you guys remember your password. Okay, good. So I've already done this, and so there's probably nothing for me to add there. But once you do that, now we've connected our system to the repository, and then we need to add this second line right here to basically make it so that we can download from it. Okay. So once again, we're going to basically just copy and paste this command here. So we're going to do sudo add sudo space add -apt/repository, and then the URL, so http://dl.openfoam.org/ubuntu. Okay. Right. It's going to ask you if you want to add it. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. Okay. Okay. So if you do that correctly, you should get some messages here to say that, you've connected basically to the Ubuntu servers for OpenFOAM. Okay. Right. Next thing we need to do is we need to update just to make sure that all of our paths are correct. So we're going to type sudo apt update. Okay. Okay. Right. So then that is going to basically update your repositories. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to actually install OpenFOAM. So this next command might take a few minutes, but hopefully it's not going to take too long. Okay. So then we're going to run the command. Let me just clear just so it's easier to see. Okay. We're going to run the command sudo apt-y install. Okay. And then we're going to install the package called OpenFOAM 13. Okay. So 13 is just the current version of OpenFOAM at the moment. Okay. Okay. So I've already installed it. So, running this command is going to say that I've already have it. Maybe it's going to download it again. Okay. But basically, it's going to download and install OpenFOAM on your system for you. So it's going to take a bit of time. But if you were if you had trouble kind of following along, basically we just copied and pasted these 4 commands into the terminal, and we just kind of ran them successively, right? So if you're kind of catching up here, just copy and paste this first command, copy and paste it into the terminal. Okay, so I've already had it installed, so there's nothing more to install there. Copy and paste this command, put it into the terminal. Copy and paste this command. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I should have mentioned this. If you're copying pasting commands, there's kind of a special way to do that within the terminal here. Okay. So when you copy text, right? So let's say I want to copy this. So we basically just right-click copy. Okay. To paste it within your terminal, you just have to go to your terminal and just right-click. Okay. So right-click is the shortcut in the Linux terminal to paste whatever text that you have in your clipboard. Okay. So you can do that. So you can just kind of copy this whole thing here. Right, so right-click copy and then paste, right? And then you can just run the command just like that. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and run that command. It might take a few minutes to install OpenFOAM, but I'll go around and kind of check, make sure everything's okay. There is one more thing that we have to do just to make sure that OpenFOAM will run. But then after that, we're done for today. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and make the rounds for a couple minutes, make sure everyone's on the same page. How's it going? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and close it. So hopefully it was somewhat successful.
Yeah, I wanted to, I'm going every step, so.
Okay. Okay, well, that's new. You can have close reading. Oh, okay, okay. Oh. Okay. Well, we're hopefully making progress. Okay. Which command? Yeah. But did you run the site the sudo app? Yeah.
Like anything needs to get on. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was looking at that.
Oh, it looks like you've already.
Okay. I don't know if I'm. It's a three. Yeah, this was. Just so that's also kind of okay. I he's right click. Yeah. 30 minutes. Yeah. See, minus is one. Obvious. Okay. We're almost together. What's the use?
Or and then go ahead and press your app /y.
That's smart. Yeah, it's not bro. It's not too actually start. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we need
Time change.
okay, so basically we need to update your. So basically we need to update some environmental variables. So I think that's probably what it's saying, that it can't find anything.
Because you're not like.
But yeah, let's go ahead and pause for this point. Do that for you. Yeah. Hopefully that was.
I can't even ask a question.
What are you? That's it. To the ground. Oh,
Oh, passes. Yeah.
That's where you.
23.
It's not.
That's my mind's sort of broken.
Everybody is on just.
Yes.
I mean, oh, okay.
Don't say That's what I'm saying. That's the loophole. That's what I'm saying. I mean, hey, yourself, okay. Yeah, to ask a serious question, bro.
You screenshot that area. I didn't know.
Like a stick. Yeah. And then he did like.
Okay.
Or, but I don't know. Why is too much. Should I just do a full plus for this, you know? Or-
Don't want to, but I'll try the machine recovery. I'll come back.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Okay. Good. So.
Oh, yeah, I've had it installed.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. You got the add it, so, okay. Okay, good. So it's downloading? Yeah, it takes a while. It's a big pack.
Why should I close my laptop?
Don't.
Whatever you do.
Just let it run. Oh, okay, so we could do that together. So basically, we get to edit our dash RC. So you can see where it's been. It's at the bottom, you need to add that. Yeah, and then just add that line at the very bottom. Yeah, so make sure you hit your I.
I'm not sure, but
and then just hit enter a couple of times. Backface. Right.
I just got it.
Yeah, and then push it back on.
You already project solid, right?
And then you need to close it when you open it up again, and then.
So do this.
Yes.
Sir, close it?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you need to do it first. All right, here.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it looks like it worked, but we're gonna need to edit the batch. So we'll do that together. Actually, let me do that right now. Just editing on. Yeah. Okay, everybody. So it looks like more or less, some people are here, but I know not everyone's here. I know people are still downloading and installing. But let me show you the last step before we end just because we're just about out of time. So last thing we need to do is we need to basically add this line to a settings file. Okay. So we have this settings file in our system called bash rc. If you remember from the beginning, that was one of the hidden files here. In fact, actually, if you want to do this without Vim, you can do it. So you can basically right click on bash rc from your Windows thing and open with your notepad, right? Okay. So if you don't want to use Vim, you can do this. I'm just going to do it just, just here as well. Okay. And then we're going to add this line to the very bottom here. Okay, so you're going to add this line dot and then slash opt slash openfoam13 slash etc slash bash rc, or you can just copy and paste. Okay, so you're going to copy and paste just like that. Okay, but I already have. So I'm actually running the development version of OpenFoam, but you guys are running the stable version. But you can do that just through the text editor. Okay, so go ahead and hit save. Okay, so make sure you save your changes and then exit. Right. And then last thing you're going to do is you're going to close Ubuntu and then open it up again. Okay. Because we basically need to load the settings, right? So that bash RC only gets loaded when you launch Ubuntu. And then to test to make sure that your Ubuntu is working, okay, you're going to run that command there, foam run, okay, -help. And then if this shows up, if this tells you, how to use the software, then you are good to go. Okay, so then you are ready to use OpenFoam for our activity on Monday. Okay. Okay, so I know we're out of time, but I do want to make a couple more rounds. But if you're still having trouble with the Linux installation, you're having trouble with the OpenFoam installation, send me an email. So I want to just make sure everyone has an OpenFoam installed for Monday, and then we'll do our first OpenFoam activity together on Monday. Okay. All right, but thank you guys for coming today. Hopefully you guys had fun using Linux for the first time. I know there's probably some stuff out there, so I'll try my best to help before the next class comes in. Hope you guys have a good weekend, and I will see you guys on Monday. And remember, on Monday I should have your midterms graded. So if you want your midterm back, you can come to class on Monday. Okay. All right, thanks everybody.
I'll go a little longer, but I think that.
Yeah.
It's smarter, you don't still.
Oh, that's your Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I'm an old password.
We use it to work that.
You might have to, you might have to go to a Chrome kind of is a. But if you go to like a home network, like you go back, like, oh, no, no, you're not, you go to Wi-Fi there.
That's great.
Or you can use an Ethernet, so like you can buy, or maybe go into one of the computer, right, do the Ethernet cable and just plug it in,
Okay,
and maybe that.
okay.
But yeah, keep me updated, you know, email me and then we'll try to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
Support.
So. If I see this one.
I have like a pretty, I know you had a problem with.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward, like.
Okay.
I just do a full reset.
That'll, I mean, that'll definitely work. If you don't mind doing that, that's probably, that's probably the table way you kind of.
I didn't know any reset, I just maybe like we have all that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that'll definitely work. I just want to make sure you're not going to lose any file.
I actually deleted all the final cut files and figured out.
Okay.
That's what you even do.
And now I, you know, I'm just like, I'm not able to do it.
Okay, you're okay with doing that.
So.
did you factory recently?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to factory reset it.
Oh, no. That's
You have any point on there?
Well, we're gonna find out. I deleted all the real, I actually, you know, sprayed the space on my disk. I wiped everything already, so I'm done.
There was one question.
I feel like something had a virus in there.
Yeah.
Like you must have.
Yep.
Your computer's still new, this kid's like, it's not old.
Yeah, so for this bash or remember, Vim is a text.
You could just
No,
do
this is a settings file that already exists under. This is basically all these settings here.
Oh, I've gone through this looking for the. I got you.
Just new.
Okay.
It's stuff already.
This one?
No.
Looks like you have stuff already. This is probably why I was saying those commands. I don't know. For some reason, your system already has it. But let's let that go on.
So say.
Let me see. Yeah, for a second.
So, yeah.
Advanced.
Let's do.
Go ahead and do.
Let's.
Go back.
C.
Go to reset PC.
Okay. Okay, so we did
Everything.
the bash or C there. Okay. So let me do this. Let's do.
Okay.
So everything is called out in blue since it's been.
Yes. Oops.
Local reinstall.
You said.
Actually, I'm gonna delete these. Just gonna add that. Bash or C.
Oh, no.
No?
No.
You sure?
My phone.
Fully doing
I think you do fully clean it. Do fully clean it. Oh. Work.
Okay, good.
Yeah, mug your own PC.
Yep.
You might hate this. but-
Yeah. So you're not able to install.
No.
Okay. Okay, screenshot that here, and I need to do a little bit more research and stuff, that's, and then I'll get back to you guys. Yeah.
This might take like 30 minutes.
No, I wish let's pause, so we need.
But if you do it.
I'll sort it.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
We didn't, but.
Okay. Okay, that's good, that's good.
I mean, the good thing is you didn't miss out anything.
Let's see.
I guess I'm be on Reddit and really think that it exists. I don't
Figure what else.
New to my computer.
He's saying
Yeah.
he's.
You're still okay.
But everyone else had it.
For what?
It's
That's what happened. Or we can do it before, if you're available,
repository.
so,
So.
What are you trying to do?
I can do as early as 10 a.m. on Monday.
Follow it.
So basically on Mondays, I'm free from 10 a.m. to 2:30.
Yeah. After I put
So
the
as long as we
stage
can
in,
start.
he gave me that
again,
error, so I'm gonna see, there's probably an answer on Reddit.
Okay.
I figured out what
Because then if you come.
I didn't do,
A class on Monday that can read it.
workstation, Windows workstation, because
Oh, for when it wasn't open?
yeah. And then that was that box.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's.
Are you good?
Oh, yeah, that was my first call.
You just think about.
It didn't actually, it said it's fine.
Take stuff with it.
And then, I'll come to it. Yeah.
There might be a fire.
You gotta go over.
You're fired.
One actually, six spare laptop.
So this is read, yeah.
Question off.
That I'm a spare laptop. Yeah.
It runs fine, I mean,
So if we can, what kind of the electric?
the battery kind of sucky, so you
I
can.
think, I think. We could do like, we probably started late this year. We started late.
You have a desktop at home?
All I'll do is all, this is one of everything.
And now it's just
fun.
do you know what choice we want? Monday.
Should be fine, but yeah.
I don't think I'm needing a new laptop there. Working.
Actually, if you're available, this. I just have to check with my wife. At least we can graduate my first one. But how is your availability?
Looks like I'm working, looks like I'm working.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's plan for Monday. Two o'clock is okay, or? Okay, let's do that. Now,
Just wanted to say, I'm duking it as we speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll, try the process one more time. It's okay, I might just do it. You, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
So, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, then you're gonna basically add that. So basically, we're open the text editor, heading and file. And then that's basically a command you choose to search. But if you want to do it, you want to say, so you're thinking you oh, so you're not putting that into the, you're not putting that in the, go ahead and backspace. No. Actually, let's do this. So it's really fast. And this is all, it's only a one-time thing, so you don't want to do it. So go ahead and use word.exe. Actually, let's go back to file. Yeah.